Welcome to episode 4 of the Espresso Essentials series. This episode is about tasting and troubleshooting your espresso. So we're going to be going over a few different things that could be going wrong in your espresso making journey. This is mostly going to be aimed toward tips and tricks to help prevent things. The first thing is make sure your machine is on and warmed up. My machine currently feels pretty warm on the panels. It's been on for probably about an hour now as I've been filming most of the day. But having a fully heated up machine is best. So when you turn on a machine and it begins to indicate by either stopping a blinking light like this one or something along the likes of that saying that is heated up, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's heated up fully. It takes a while for all these metal components to heat up, and I would recommend leaving on your machine for 20 minutes before you brew a shot, and that'll give you the best results. The next thing is making sure your portafilter is heated up tremendously. So in other words, locking it in your group head like so as the machine heats up will give you the best results for your portafilter. So I'd recommend making sure everything is heated up. A bottomless portafilter will help you make sure that your shot is good, and it will help you eliminate some issues that are going on with your shot. The next thing is make sure your beans are still fresh and they're not old. Maybe you have brewed a shot the day before and it just seems like it's coming out way quicker or way off. Your grind setting should be changed fairly regularly as the beans age and change a little bit over the course of time. So that might mean you might have to adjust your bean setting differently. Or if you're using a Colombian bean and you just got done with an Ethiopian, you're probably going to need to change your grind setting in order to get the best results. The next thing is maybe you are brewing a shot that is coming out too quick. It's coming out a little fast and you know you need to fine up the grind setting. So you do that on your grinder and you still feel like you're off, and then you change it again and you feel like you're off even more. That could be of retaining coffee grounds in your grinder. So some grinders, like the SD40 here, has this bellow system on here, which means you push on the bellow and it releases the coffee grounds that are stuck on the inside, called retention. If I did not push down on the bellow after I pulled a shot, and then I would pull another shot, trying to change grind settings, there would be some grinds in there that are at different grind settings because a few grams would be retained on the inside of this machine. So if your grinder has a bellow system like this one, make sure you press down on it. If your machine does not have a bellow system, I would recommend this thing called purging, which means simply just turn your grinder on and let it run for just a few seconds to push out that old grind setting to make sure you are a fresh start and everything is consistent among your grind setting. Another thing is making sure you have the consistent grind that you need. So if you are going 18 grams, make sure you weigh that out before and after. So put your 18 grams in your grinder and then weigh that again on your scale to make sure it's the same afterwards. Another thing is make sure you tamp level, make sure you do the WDT method. That will allow you, if you're doing this well, that will allow you to realize on your bottomless portafilter that we have over here, if there's sprays and stuff like that, that means you need to do a little bit more work on that because you did not distribute your grounds well enough as it comes out there. And again, remember over extraction and under extraction. Over extraction means that you brewed your espresso too long, that it was in your machine too longer, which means you ground too fine, and it will come out a little bit bitter because it's releasing all of the flavors of the bitterness of the coffee that come later after the road, after the sweet spot. If it's coming out too quick and it tastes a little sourer, that means you need to grind finer in order to do that. Those are some good adjustments that you need to start with before. Maybe your machine isn't gaining any pressure at all and it feels like it's just flowing out too quick. That means you really, really need to adjust finer. If you have good espresso equipment, you will be able to make good espresso. But if you are buying a cheap electric grinder and you spend like under $100 on Amazon to buy an electric grinder and you're wondering why you can't pull a shot on the finest settings, it's probably because of your grinder. Your grinder can't simply grind fine enough in order to do that. So make sure you get a good grinder and a decent machine. You don't have to spend $1,500. I'm not advocating for everybody to do that, but make sure you have a good grinder. You will always want to aim for a 1-to-2 ratio, and you want to keep those variables as consistent while you're dialing in your grind setting and troubleshooting things. So if you're putting 18 grams in, you should be getting 36 grams out. That's a 1-to-2 ratio. If you are brewing 20 grams in, you need to be aiming for 40 grams out, and you need to be aiming for that in 25 to 30 seconds to help adjust that. To fine tune things, remember that if it's a little bitter, that means you need to grind a little coarser, and that'll help you hit your target rate. The number of 25 to 30 seconds is a starting point. It is not the definite answer. You go by your taste buds and what you like for the best results in your cup. So hopefully this helps you a little bit, and I want to take a quick moment to stop what I'm saying and say a quick thank you to Espresso Outlet for sponsoring this series. You can buy a lot of different gear on Espresso Outlet. They have some of the best customer service, in my opinion, in the business, and I would love for you to check them out, to check out the great deals on this grinder right here. That's $270 on their website, give or take, versus comparing this to other grinders. This competes with things that are around the $750 range, which blew my mind saying that, and it made me sell gear just to keep this thing because of how small it is and how good it is in comparison to other grinders. So check out Espresso Outlet for all of your espresso needs, and again, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. So you always want to make sure you purge your grinder. You always need to check your beans and make your settings adjust, because it's going to be a little different from day to day as you're pulling espresso. And make sure your machine is fully heated up, including the portafilter is a nice warmth to touch or a little hot to touch to give you the best consistent extraction as possible. If you have any questions, if there's ways for me to assist you, please let me know in the comments below, and I hope this is a quick little guide to helping you taste and troubleshoot your espresso. A good way to taste your espresso is to look at the bag of the beans, and they give little indicators of what it should be tasting and what you can be getting out of this. Some of this does make a difference when you're using a $250 grinder versus the Cafe's $3,000 grinder and $15,000 machine and years of experience. But this one has a lot of floral kind of notes to it. It's got stone fruit, it's got jasmine tea, and it's got some sugar cane in there. So I can kind of look for those as I dial in, and the closer I get to the perfect extraction, the more of those flavors I'm going to be getting out of there. When it comes to tasting espresso, one of the best ways to do it is to do it over time. So if you just take your little shot glass of espresso and you just down it, you're probably not going to notice that. It might be a little too hot. So take sips over a course of many different minutes where you can kind of feel and taste the flavors. As the espresso cools down, you unlock more flavors. So again, thank you so much for watching, and remember to please like and subscribe if you found this video useful, and stay tuned for episode 5.